Look around you for a moment. Ask yourself something most people are too afraid to face. Why do the rich rise higher every single day, while you're running yourself into the ground just to survive? Why is it that no matter how hard you grind, you're still chained to bills, debts, and the constant pressure of staying afloat? It feels unfair. And you're right, it is. But here's the part no one ever wants to admit. Money doesn't follow fairness. Money follows power. And power is never given. Power is taken. That's why you stay stuck. Because you still believe in playing by the rules. You're waiting your turn. You're hoping someday someone will reward your effort. But the wealthy, they don't wait. They don't hope. They build their outcomes. They engineer their wealth. They bend people, systems, and even reality toward their will. And unless you understand the cold, ruthless principles behind that game, you will always remain prey, a worker in someone else's empire. I'm not here to give you motivational cliches. This isn't work harder. This isn't save more. That advice keeps people obedient, predictable, replaceable. What I'm giving you is dangerous knowledge. The kind of knowledge people whisper about, the kind they warn you to stay away from, because once you master it, you don't remain ordinary anymore. This is the kind of knowledge that makes you unreadable, untouchable, unstoppable. Most people believe wealth comes from intelligence, luck, or talent. But if that were true, geniuses wouldn't die poor, and people who work themselves to the bone wouldn't drown in debt. Wealth isn't about raw ability. It's about strategy. Cold, tactical, unapologetic strategy. The kind that rewrites your destiny from the inside out. And once you learn it, the game will never look the same again. Niccolo Machiavelli once wrote that people forget the death of their own father more easily than they forget the loss of their inheritance. In other words, money cuts deeper than blood. Wealth means survival. It means status. It means power. And those who control it control everyone else. The first thing you must understand is this. Money is not neutral. Money is a weapon. In the hands of the weak, it slips away. In the hands of the strong, it multiplies. And this weapon is only given to those who can detach themselves from childish illusions. You must start from there by breaking the identity you've been carrying. Stop thinking like a victim of your circumstances. Start observing. Because the truth is, most people are blind, predictable, emotional. They cannot see how they're being played in the game of money. But once you open your eyes, once you stop reacting and start watching, you finally begin to understand how wealth is really built. Look at an ordinary person. They work hard, they save every coin, they follow the rules. And still, their life becomes a cage. Their effort makes someone else rich. Why? Because they believe in effort, not leverage. They believe in fairness, not manipulation. They believe in appearances, not power. That blindness is exactly why they stay broke. And that brings us to the first law. Turn silence into a weapon. Most people chase wealth with talking, begging, explaining, proving. Their desperation spreads through the room like a foul smell. But silence is pressure. Silence forces the other side to reveal themselves. In negotiation, in deals, in opportunities, the one who can stay quiet bends the room to their will. People hate silence. They rush to fill it, usually by giving away advantages, secrets, and weaknesses. The wealthy understand this. That's why in rooms where everyone is scrambling, they are calm. They aren't chasing anything. They simply wait and let others expose themselves before they strike. Silence transforms you from prey into the hunter. But silence alone won't save you, because if your reactions are predictable, you can still be controlled.
And that brings us to the next principle. Become unreadable. Most people wear their emotions on their faces. Fear, greed, insecurity. They broadcast these signals like a radio, and predators pick them up instantly. That's how the wealthy manipulate markets, employees, even their own friends, because they can read reactions faster than ordinary people can process them. If you want to stop being broke, you must become unreadable. Like a shadow. No one should be able to guess your next move. When you remove emotional tells, when you master stillness, you are no longer someone else's chess piece. You become the one moving the board. Think about it. A man who cannot be read cannot be predicted. A man who cannot be predicted cannot be controlled. That man is dangerous. You can't trap him with ads, with social pressure, with trends. While others spend, he saves. While others hesitate, he strikes. While others rush in, he steps back. Empires are built like this, not by following the herd, but by standing above it, observing, waiting, and striking with precision. But you must understand one thing. Every time you chase a momentary impulse, every time you react emotionally to fear or greed, you surrender power. And every time you lose power, someone richer becomes stronger. Because money is always moving. If it's leaving your hands, it's feeding someone else's war chest. And that brings us to the next law. The patience of the hunter. Ordinary people are impatient. They chase speed. They gamble on hype and noise. They rush to get rich fast. And in that very impatience, they turn themselves into prey for those who wait. The wealthy wait. They move slowly, strategically, like a lion hidden in tall grass, saving its energy for one perfect moment. They strike when fear has swallowed the herd. When others panic and sell, they buy. When others sell, they hold. When others retreat, they expand. Their patience is a weapon. And if you learn it, you stop throwing money at impulses and start hunting the opportunities everyone else sleeps on. But patience requires discipline, and discipline is exactly what keeps most people poor. They want comfort. They want ease. They want the warm, temporary pleasure of spending instead of the cold satisfaction of control. This is why the small group who master silence, unreadability, and the patience of a hunter rise to the top. while the rest remain chained to their paycheck for life. And here is the darkest truth. Most people will never escape. They feel too much, react too much, see too little. They live and die as prey. But you don't have to be one of them. Because if you take these laws seriously, if you detach yourself from illusions, turn silence into a weapon, become unreadable, and master the hunter's patience, you stop being ordinary. You stop being broke. You begin transforming into someone untouchable. And the deeper you go, the clearer it becomes. Wealth is not earned, it is taken. You've already seen the first cracks in the illusion. Silence bends people. Unreadability protects you. Patience transforms you from a desperate gambler into a calculated predator. But if you stop here, you're still only halfway. Because money is not just for protecting yourself. Money is for turning other people into your resources. And this is where the real game begins. Most people think wealth comes from hard work.
They imagine the rich work harder or smarter, but that's only the surface. Real wealth is built through positioning, by standing in a place where the efforts of others flow toward you, without them even realizing it. Think about your job. You work, you sweat, you grind, and your salary is only a fraction of the value you actually create. The rest, it flows upward, quietly, to the employer. Why? Because their position is above yours. They don't need to work harder. They only need you to work. This is the law of leverage. Machiavelli once said people are easily persuaded, but hard to keep persuaded. What does that mean for money? It means effort, loyalty, obedience. These things are unstable. But when you control the system, when you build a position others must pass through, their instability doesn't matter. You keep getting richer while they remain trapped. Leverage is why one landlord gets wealthy while hundreds of tenants pay rent for life. Leverage is why one investor becomes powerful while thousands gamble and lose. But here is the cold part. Most people never think about leverage. They only think about earning. They sell their time, they sell their labor, and by doing that, they sell their life. That's why they stay poor, because they're trading the one currency that cannot be multiplied, time. But the few who master leverage stop trading time. They trade systems. Yet even leverage can collapse if you lack control. People are unpredictable. Their opinions, trends, and loyalties shift, and if you don't control the narrative, you lose control of everything. That's why you must learn the law of narrative. Money does not flow to the best product. It does not flow to the hardest worker. It flows to the best story. Humans are irrational. We follow beliefs, not logic. And those who shape the narrative shape the flow of money. That's why brands like Apple build empires, not through devices, but through mythology. That's why politicians move millions of dollars with nothing but words. They understand the art of storytelling, the art of crafting the lens through which the masses see reality. And here is the secret. A narrative doesn't need to be real. It only needs to be believed. Once people accept your story, they give you your money, your loyalty, your obedience, and sometimes even their lives. Ordinary people resist this idea. They cling to the belief that truth and fairness rule the world. But look around. Lies repeated loudly enough become reality. Appearances crafted carefully enough become truth. And the man who rejects narrative as manipulation stays poor, because he doesn't understand that money follows belief, not reality. Silence, unreadability, patience, leverage, narrative. Do you see the pattern?
Each principle turns human weakness into your strength. Each step pulls you further away from the herd and closer to the brotherhood of hunters. But there is something darker you must face. Wealth demands sacrifice, not blood, but comfort. The hunter's path is lonely. You cannot chase every impulse, every distraction, every desire. That's what keeps everyone else weak, their need for constant comfort.
The wealthy are not soft. They may look luxurious, but beneath that surface is discipline. Before they control others, they control themselves. Machiavelli warned that a prince must sometimes act against mercy, against faith, even against humanity, to preserve his power. And if you want to rise above poverty, you must learn a version of the same lesson: how to sacrifice the illusion of morality for the reality of control. This is why you stay broke, because you cling to comfort, to fairness, to appearances. But the wealthy do not. When it benefits them, they embrace difficulty. When necessary, they bend morality. When useful, they construct appearances. That flexibility is why they rise, while others drown. But remember, every law has a shadow. Silence can turn to isolation. Unreadability can turn to paranoia. Patience can rot into inaction. Leverage can collapse without discipline. Narrative, once exposed, can destroy you. This is why the wealthy appear calm, because they've learned to walk on the edge of a blade. And while you sit here thinking wealth comes from hard work, they move in the shadows. They pull the strings. They set traps you never see. By the time most people even notice what's happening around them, it's already too late. But not for you. Not if you keep going down this path. Right now, you're peeling away the layers of the illusion. You're becoming sharper, colder, more strategic. And once you fully embrace the mindset of a hunter, you'll realize something crucial. Money doesn't move toward the deserving. Money moves toward those who take it. And taking it is never loud, never obvious. It's quiet, calculated, ghost-like. That's the path you're walking now. The path toward your final evolution. So here's the question. Are you ready to stop being prey and become the hunter? Because by now you can feel it, that shift. The world doesn't look the same anymore. You see people talking, begging, buying, reacting, and all you see is weakness. They don't even realize their energy is being drained, harvested, exploited. But you do. You've stepped out of the herd. But to fully cross that line, you must master more than silence, unreadability, and patience. You must understand leverage and narrative. These are the foundations. And real transformation happens only when you sharpen them like weapons and use them without mercy. Because wealth is war, not a fair game, not a moral contest, a war. And in war, hesitation is death. Let's go deeper. There's a reason the poor cling to jobs while the rich build empires. It's not just leverage, it's the law of replacement. Weak people replace power with labor. They think, if I just work harder, I'll earn more. But hard work alone is the currency of fools. The wealthy replace differently. They trade ideas for labor, influence for action, imagination for reality. Think about it. One man spends an entire day digging a hole and earns one wage. Another organizes 10 men to dig 10 holes and earns 10 times more without lifting a finger. Who's smarter? The one sweating or the one replacing? Machiavelli warned rulers never to rely on their own strength alone, but to use the strength of others. wealth follows the same rule. If you keep exchanging your time for money, you will stay broke forever. But if you replace imagination with value, ideas with labor, and other people's energy with your benefit, money will flood toward you. That's the harsh truth. The rich don't work harder. They make others work harder for them. But replacement isn't enough. You need another weapon. The law of illusion.
People don't buy what something is. They buy what they believe it is. That's why a diamond, just a rock, is worth a fortune. That's why brands turn ordinary fabric into luxury. That's why paper money, worthless by itself, commands nations. Money follows illusion, and the masters of illusion are the ones who become rich. They don't sell reality. They sell the story wrapped around reality. That's why some people sell get-rich courses without being rich and still make money. They're selling the illusion. If you reject illusion because you think it's not honest, you've already lost. The world doesn't reward honesty. It rewards mastery of appearance. Now listen carefully, because we've reached one of the most dangerous principles, the law of exploitation. Most people hate this word. They think of cruelty or injustice. But exploitation in its purest form simply means finding unused value and extracting it. The rich see gaps, weaknesses, and opportunities long before anyone else, and they exploit them. Not always by exploiting people, but by exploiting timing, fear, inefficiency. They see where others are wasting and turn that waste into wealth. Take fear as an example. When markets crash, the average person panics and sells at a loss. The hunter exploits that fear, buys cheap, and multiplies wealth while everyone else bleeds. Or attention. Billions waste hours scrolling social media. The hunter exploits that too, captures attention, builds narrative, sells products, and turns distraction into income. Exploitation isn't cruelty. It's realism. If you don't exploit opportunities, someone else will exploit you. And that leads to the final law, the law of concealment. Weak people think saying everything helps them. They love revealing details, exposing themselves. Think about negotiation. The average person immediately shows their price, limits, needs. The hunter conceals, waits, listens, calculates, speaks only when the trap is already closed. Concealment creates mystery. Mystery creates power. Power creates wealth. Now let's connect the threads. Silence bends people. Unreadability protects you. Patience turns desperation into timing. Leverage turns others into your resource. Narrative shapes belief. Replacement frees you from wage slavery. Illusion multiplies value from nothing. Exploitation turns waste into wealth. Concealment protects your position. These aren't suggestions. They're weapons. Cold, dark, precise weapons. And once you wield them, you stop being a victim of the game. You become the game. This is the final transformation. Most people live and die as prey, predictable, emotional, chained to hours, salaries, and the illusion of fairness. But when you walk this path, you become something else. A watcher, a strategist, a phantom in the marketplace. Imagine it. While others stumble blindly, you move with X-ray vision. You see their cues, their impulses, their weaknesses. Instead of joining their chaos, you observe, you wait. You move only when the outcome is already secured.
That is what it means to be unreadable, untouchable, unstoppable. You no longer chase wealth. You position yourself so that wealth chases you. And once you taste that power, you can never go back. So the question becomes, how do you live this daily? How do you practice this philosophy, not just understand it? This is where the next stage begins. Real-world operations, life strategy, turning these principles into your armor, your weaponry, your empire. You've absorbed the principles. They're no longer abstract ideas, they're weapons. But unused weapons are decoration. To become untouchable, you must weave these laws into your daily life like hidden blades. Because wealth isn't built in the big moments. It's built in the small, daily choices where most people fail. Conversations. Most people talk to fill space, to prove themselves, to be seen. But you know better. Words are like money. They should be invested, not wasted. When you sit across from someone, practice silence. Let them talk. Let them reveal themselves. You no longer react. You study. Negotiation. Amateurs think negotiation is forcing opinions. But negotiation is war disguised as conversation. And in war, the calm soldier always beats the emotional one. Unreadability is your armor. You wait, let the other side expose their weakness, and then, when the moment is perfect, you strike. Relationships. Wealth is not only financial, it's social. Influence is a currency, and most people destroy theirs by being too available, too emotional, too predictable. You don't. You use concealment. You remain slightly distant, slightly mysterious. People pursue what they can't fully have. Your distance creates value. Business. This is where Machiavellian psychology shines. Most businesses fail because they try to sell reality. Hunters sell illusion, narrative, appearance. Where desire doesn't exist, they create it. Think of the great empires, Apple, Tesla, luxury brands. Are their products truly worth what they charge? Rarely. But their illusion, their story, that's what people worship. Conflict. Weak people waste energy fighting every battle. They argue, defend, and drain themselves. The hunter chooses battles with surgical precision. When conflict arises, you don't rush. You observe. You calculate. You let the opponent burn their energy, reveal their strategy. And then, when the moment is perfect, you strike, swiftly, decisively, ruthlessly. And slowly, without noise, you evolve. While others chase comfort, you choose discipline. While others expose themselves, you remain unreadable. While others panic, you remain patient. While others work endlessly, you create leverage. While others speak truth and get ignored, you create illusion and get paid. You're no longer one of them. You've stepped into something higher, the final evolution. Unreadable, untouchable, unstoppable. A phantom in the world of money. You don't scream your wealth. You don't beg for recognition. You move in silence. Build quietly. Accumulate power until one day the herd looks up and realizes you're no longer among them. You've risen beyond. Most people will never understand this. They will remain blind, emotional, and prey. But you've entered the path. Now you must choose. Let this video fade from your mind and return to your old patterns, predictable, emotional, and broke. Or take this as the beginning of your ascent. You can apply these laws daily. You can stop reacting and start calculating. Stop working for money and make money work for you. If you're ready to go deeper, sharpen your mind, master power, and become untouchable, then this is your chance. Subscribe, because everything from here gets even more dangerous. And once you cross this line, there is no going back. So answer the real question. Are you ready to stop being prey and become the hunter?